much for joining me on the 10 Before 10 show.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
No worries. Well, first off, great workout on 10 Before 10 this morning. And I think that would have to be the first one that we've ever done where the overall focus was on being streamlined.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun. It was good to do it with Pat as well. It was a great experience. And yeah, I suppose swimmers do things a little bit differently being in the water. And yeah, that was one of the focuses with all those exercises, just to try and use the core and glutes a little bit differently to what you would in sports that are on land. So
yeah, because you've done some personal training as well, or you're qualified in that area.
Yeah. I've graduated from uni with a sport and exercise science. So I'm a sport scientist, and also I've done my Cert 3 in fitness and currently doing the Cert 4. So that's something I'm interested in, and yeah, I love just being fit and healthy, really. So
yeah, it's better than the alternative, I found.
Yeah.
So are you a bit of a big deal in Tassie? Because you're the first Tasmanian I heard to make it to either a Paralympic or Olympic Games in over 2 decades, and you're, I think, only the second Tasmanian ever to get onto the Australian swim team.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that, but yeah, there's not there's not a whole heap of Tasmanians that have represented Australia, and it's a little bit harder in Tassie to get to the top. There's obviously not as many facilities, and everything's just a little bit smaller, I suppose. So yeah, I love being Tasmanian, and yeah, it's awesome. There's Ariane Titmus at the moment, who's I'd say up and coming, but she's not up and coming anymore. She's world champion. So yeah, hopefully she'll be on the Olympic team next year, and I'll be on the Paralympic team. So
fantastic, because you had a bit of a challenge when you were still living in Tassie, because you had a fair distance to travel to get to the pool. You didn't have a coach. Must have made it tricky.
Yeah, towards the back end of moving up to Queensland, I moved here when I was 18. I was sort of coaching myself a little bit at times and didn't have too many people to train with. And with my eyesight and being young anyway, Mum and Dad would always have to drive me to training. So it was quite a challenge. But yeah, I've always probably been known to be that guy that's very internally driven. I love training. I love just absolutely flogging myself at the pool. And I suppose that being a swimmer, we train a lot. So you need that drive.
Yeah. I did a bit of it when I was much younger myself, and it's a lot of just up and down. But it's amazing how by mixing up the drills, how interesting it can be. A lot of people might just look at it and think, oh, it's just up and down the pool, but there's a lot more going on than that.
Yeah, if you heard that I just jumped in the pool and this morning was 4 or 5K, and people might think, oh, how boring is that? But there's the 4 strokes, there's lots of drills. Like you said, you can do sprints, you can do endurance sort of stuff, and kick, pull, use your arms, use your legs. So yeah, there's so many variations. And although I do love going and doing other stuff, I love swimming because there's so much variety in it. So
yeah, for sure. Now, you first caught the interest of the selectors back in, I think, in 2013. So you would have been about 18 then, I'm guessing.
Yep.
What age were you when you first started doing competitive swimming? And what was it about swimming that made you decide that was the sport you wanted to concentrate on?
Yeah, good one. So like I said, I think this morning to you guys in the workout, I started swimming when I was about 7, I think. And swimming, you sort of get sucked into being very competitive straight away, especially when you love it, I suppose. So I started racing when I was about 10, 11, and even at that age, it was pretty serious. A lot of swimmers at a young age are very serious. And it all just sort of took off from there. And as I said, I moved to Queensland when I was 18, and I've been so fortunate to be able to represent Australia and swim in many different countries. It's just been such a great experience, and something that I'll never take for granted, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, I was going to ask why you finally decided to become a para-athlete at the age of 18, but then I realised it might have had something to do with the fact that at the Australian Short Course Championships back then, you picked up a bronze, a silver, 2 golds, and you just missed out on 2 world records. So you went, maybe I'll give this Paralympic thing a go.
Yeah. So I've had the poor eyesight since I was born. I was born with it, and it does get worse as I get older. But I suppose because it's not a visual thing, you can't see that I'm missing a limb or all those sort of things. I think I'd never really just considered it. It never crossed my mind. But a family friend mentioned it to me when I was 18, and by then I was sort of, I was doing well with swimming, but it was a good timing because at that point in time, my times were good enough to maybe make the Australian team. And as soon as I got classified as a para swimmer, like you said, I went to short course. And in my very first meet, I won a few national medals. So excuse the wind here. It's a bit breezy up here in Queensland. But
that's all right. I'm not picking it up, actually. It's all right.
Okay. Oh, good. But yeah, within that first year, I'd made the Australian team to represent the country at the Pan Pacs in America. So it was a really big change. I'd moved to Queensland. I'd made the national team. I was meeting all these new, really amazing people that were so good at what they do. So that was the bonus of moving to Queensland, having that extra set of facilities and athletes and coaches to train with and be mentored by. That was all why I did it in the first place. So
I'm thinking the weather isn't exactly a negative either from Tassie.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, it's currently middle of winter, and yeah, the pool, a few of the guys up here find it a bit cold, but I don't find it cold at all. You jump in the pool and within a couple of 100 metres you're fine anyway. So
yeah,
in Tassie, a lot of pools are closed, so it's pretty awesome to still be outside and training in the sun. So.
And you know, you were mentioning the vision issues before. So from what I've read, it's a peripheral vision thing where you're affected the most. So I guess that makes it harder in you in the pool, especially when you're racing other people. You can't see where you are compared to them.
Yeah, that's
or it makes
right.
It tricky.
Yeah, it is very tricky. And I mean, if I look, I can see them, but that slows you down by looking and worrying where everyone else is. So. People quite often ask, actually, how does it affect me? Because I do have 10 degrees of vision directly in front. I don't have anything to the side. So, yeah, while I'm looking down at the black, or in our case, it's a blue line, I think, on the bottom of the pool, I can see that. And on the turns, when you push off the wall, you face sideways, and I can sometimes see if a competitor's right next to me. But the harder part is I do backstrokes. So sometimes no matter how hard I try and find the backstroke flags, I miss them, which means I hit my head on the wall. Sometimes I don't have that. I don't have the peripheral vision, so I smash my fingers on the lane ropes when I'm doing backstroke. And just that depth perception when you do the tumble turn, you need to sort of know where you're at in relation to the wall. So all these little things. So, and I suppose that's why I get classified as a Paralympic swimmer. So
yeah. So because I heard that you can have someone on the shore, I was going to say, by the side of the pool, with a rod that can sort of tap you and so at a certain point, so you know how many strokes you've got to hit the wall. Do you do that as well? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I do have permission to use that. You need to, in the Paralympic sport, you need to have permission and exceptions to be able to use certain equipment. So for me, I can use that. And it's something that I've definitely considered because, like I said, no matter how hard I try, sometimes just with the splash of the water, and because you're moving pretty quick in a race, you just don't see the flags. And sometimes the guys with the best vision, able-bodied, or some of the para guys that have great vision, they still just can't see it. So for me, I will consider it, and I have considered it, because it probably might give me a bit more of a, not advantage, but it might help me through those turns and finishes.
Might save you wearing a helmet now and again as well.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. I've banged my head many times, and it's a shock, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, so right when you made that decision, as you mentioned before, it was a pretty quick rise, and a bit of a meteoric rise, really. So you know, you joined the Australian Bronze Squad, you joined the Road to Rio development squad for the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. Can you tell us a bit more about these two squads, like what the differences are between them, and what joining these squads meant for you in terms of the effect it had on your life? I mean, obviously you had the move to Queensland. I'm just wondering if there was anything else.
Yeah. I can't actually remember a whole heap about the squads, but my very first team or squad that I made was a junior development team, and I suppose it was probably for kids that they thought might be a chance to make the Rio Games, and that was back in 2013 when I very first got nationally classified. I went to a camp at the AIS in Canberra, and I think they still might do those junior camps now. But yeah, it was a very quick transition because within a year I got internationally classified. You need to get both done, starting with the national. And yeah, I went to short course nationals and just won a whole heap of medals. And from there, got internationally classified. So yeah, the first one would be to show promise. and to get that national classification, and then you can be in certain development squads. But as soon as you make a senior team, you're thrown straight into the deep end, and you're with all the big guys then. So, yeah, I can't actually remember exactly the ins and outs of it, but yeah, it was a very quick change for me. So,
yeah. Okay, well, your career is full of highlights, and I'm guessing the biggest ones would be getting picked for the Rio team and racing in 2 finals at the Rio Games. So can we just lead off with you explaining to us what the circumstances were when you knew that you definitely made the team? Like, where were you? Is it because you got a time in a race and that was it, or how did it happen?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And that's sort of important, because with the Olympic guys, if they touch the wall and they're first and they do a certain time there, they almost know they're on the team. Whereas with the the para guys, we might do an A or a B standard time, which is based on the world rankings. But because there's so many categories and races and whatnot, there's a team size limit. So I think for Rio it was 36. So because of all the categories, male, female, different races, you didn't exactly know if you were on the team straight away. So our team didn't get announced until, I believe it was July, and the trials were in April. So we had a good idea if we did a certain time that we might be on the team, but because there were so many other factors, the para team actually didn't get announced until July. So we kind of had to assume, I suppose, and keep preparing anyway. But when we finally found out that we were on the team, we got given these really cool plane tickets. You might have seen them, that they were big sort of memento things that showed us that we're going to Rio. So that was awesome. There was, we had our local newspapers and everything there, and it was a little bit quieter than having the whole team together, but everyone was separate training for the game. So it was awesome. Something I'll never forget.
So that's when an athlete knows it's for real, when they get one of those big Qantas tickets.
Yeah, it was. You've made it then. So I think it's a great idea, and hopefully they'll do it for Tokyo, because it's a really cool thing to keep and say I've been to the games. So
yeah. Now, the other thing I was going to ask about that is, can you give us some insight into what it's like, not just to swim at the Paralympics, but to also swim in 2 finals, like walking out onto the pool, the noise? I mean, it must just blow your mind.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, my first race was the 100 butterfly, and I did a PB and didn't quite make the final, but even that was incredible. Just walking out, hearing the crowd roar. And even for me, people want to have a home games. I'd never thought of it until then, but maybe the home game is so incredible.
Sorry, my mistake. I forgot it was in Rio. I thought there was just something special about Brazilian crowds in general.
They're pretty nice people, but yeah.
Yeah. And they don't mind. They don't mind the party.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to do that, but yeah, it was. We did at the end, I suppose. But yeah, it was just that party atmosphere. They were just always cheerful and always so excited by anything, because it was such a great experience for them. Like, it was going to South America is something I'd never really thought I'd be able to do, and to be able to do that and do all the other things as well was awesome.
Well, it was funny talking about partying, because I was going to ask you about that, because you hear all these stories about what goes on in the athletes' village, and it sounds like a lot of fun to me. But obviously, the Paralympics, you just mentioned that you didn't do much of it, and the Paralympics, it's condensed. It's down to 11 days. So does that mean that you had stuff on for a lot of that, and that's why you didn't really get to let your hair down, so to speak?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I think, as you said, it was 11 days and the swimming was 10. So I raced on days 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So I had the last day off. So I got to go out and hang with my family. We had to watch the heat. We had to watch our teammates. The swimming team made a few rules, and we couldn't go out and do anything until the whole team was done, which is a good rule. One in, all in. So I got to go out and hang with my family on the final day in the break. And then the swimming team had the night of the 10th day and then the 11th day to sort of roam the village, watch other sports, take advantage of all the awesome food that's in the village. It's like a big theme park, the village, so it's pretty cool. Yeah,
cool. And did you meet any athletes that you hadn't met before and develop friendships, or from other countries perhaps?
Yeah, you do. You probably make friends and hang out with your own country the most, just because you're there to race, it's not like you're there to go out and hang out heaps throughout the competition, but at the end, yeah, for sure. And I made friends with a few of the guys that I raced against. There's a couple of guys that I'd always have a great chat with if I went away. But yeah, even whether it's the Paralympic Games or not, I think being on my first national team at the Pan Pac, so I didn't really meet anyone because I was just a young kid meeting my own teammates.
Yeah.
But the more times you make the national team, I suppose you get comfortable with your own team, and you're just more comfortable in general, just meeting other people too. So yeah, I've definitely met people from cool countries and people that have won medals too. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. Now, we've just been speaking about some of your career highlights. So what have been some of the low points, and how have you overcome those?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think all the highlights are the ones that always get seen, but there probably is almost as many lowlights, if not more. So yeah, it is a great learning curve, and swimming and sport teaches you for everything outside of swimming and sport too. So I think for me, that would be missing the national team. I've missed it last year, for example. I missed it by about 0.3 of a second. And over 100 meters, that's not much. It's probably even 20, 30, 40 centimeters. So just to think that I'd done all that hard work, and it wasn't for nothing, but it could have been so much more if I went 0.3 of a second faster. It could have been so many more fun opportunities. But it's just made me realise that you can't always be at the very, very top of your game. And I think it definitely taught a lot to me for when I finished swimming one day, that you can put in all the hard work in the world, and sometimes it just doesn't and come through. So for me, it was really, really hard to not make that team last year, because it was the best year yet. I'd done personal bests in pretty much every race, but it just didn't happen. So that'll make me stronger for next time, and I'm hungrier than ever. So,
and just to that point as well, like, it's tough enough when you've got to get your ducks in a row in normal things in life, but normal things in life don't come down to 0.3 of a second. So like for what you do, so much of it is how you perform on the day. So if you can do it there, you can definitely do it with the rest of the stuff, I think.
Yeah, it is true, that coming down on the day, because even in training, for example, you could wake up and feel absolutely terrible. You might be sore, you might be tired, but you can just pull out these good times somehow. But then you might feel amazing in the water. Maybe it's a swimming thing as well. Maybe you might feel amazing in the water and you just don't have that feel for the water. So I suppose that's one lesson that I've learned, and I'll take away from swimming too. It's not always about how you feel, all this kind of stuff. You just need to trust what you've done. And sometimes it might not fall through. And that's why I'm trying to be the best athlete that I can be, because I feel like the best athletes can do well no matter what. And that's what I want to be. And that's what I've tried to be for so long. So, that's my goal now, just to be so consistent. And I feel like if you can be consistent every day, then the results will come. Not easier, but it's probably more of a promise that those results will come.
And so what's the deal with you in Tokyo then? If you missed the Nationals last year, were you going to Tokyo this year? Or if you were, do you have to re-qualify for next year?
No, so 2019 is different to 2020. So with swimming, I suppose we're lucky. If we miss 2019, we're as much of a chance as anyone to make the 2020 team, or 2021 now. The good thing is about making the team in 2019 is you're probably already a little bit ahead of the guys that didn't. So I've had to work even harder to try and not just catch up to what it would have been to make the team, but now I've got to obviously improve as well. So the good thing is though for me that all those results in 2019 don't dictate what happens in 2020 or next year now. And all the results and rankings are all sort of up in the air. We've had the qualification times laid out to us, and they might change, they might stay the same, I'm not sure. But for me now, it's just trying to be the best that I can every day.
It's all ahead of you.
It is, and we've got a lot of time. Everyone's saying we've got a lot of time, and we do, but it's all about doing as much as you can with every day, because time goes very fast.
Oh, absolutely. The older you get too. Now, on a similar note, what do you find is the hardest regular part of being an elite swimmer? Is it like the training, the diet, always making sure you've got a better six-pack than the other guys?
Yeah. Well, that one's important, I suppose. You've got to be lean. But no, for me, it's the early mornings.
Is that for the sponsors, is it? You've got to have the six-pack for them.
It probably is. Yeah, it probably is. No, you do need to be in good shape. But I think the hardest thing for me is waking up early every morning. I found that in the isolation, we had a bit more freedom, I suppose, to sleep when we want. And it's not like I was staying up later, but I probably got a couple of hours extra sleep each night just from not having to wake at 5 or 6 every morning. So yeah, I think having that extra bit of tiredness, you get sometimes a little more grumpy, I suppose, but it does impact your recovery too. So for me, it's trying to manage my sleep, because we do train so much. The more you train, you need a bit more sleep too. So
yeah. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you was, because we did touch on this morning, was about motivation. But, you know, for the benefits of the guys that are watching this, can you describe how you go about motivating yourself in the lead up to a competition?
yeah, I find that I've just got to try and trust what I've done, especially in the lead up to the competition. Just trust what I've done and know that I've given it my all. And I find that quite not easy, but I'm someone that sort of crosses the T's and dots the I's. I do that every day. So I suppose that gives me a little bit more confidence going into training. But in terms of motivation on a daily basis, it is hard because we train so much. So sort of just being in it for the long haul, knowing that there will be days when it's not that you don't want to go to training, but it will come harder than other days. And just knowing the end goal and knowing all the little things that you're going to have to do and improve on to get there. It's not easy. And like the quote goes, if it's easy, anyone would do it. So yeah. For me, it's just treating it like it's a marathon, because it really is.
Have you ever felt like you had these days where you've just gone, you know what, I'm done with swimming? You know, has it ever got that bad? Or
I wouldn't say I'm done with swimming, but there's definitely days where I think all swimmers would say don't want to go to swimming, just because of it's that instant reaction when you wake up. It's like, I'm so tired, I'm so sore, I'm so this, I'm so that. But no, I haven't had that yet. But yeah, there are definitely days where it's like, why can't I swim faster? What's my body doing to me today? And yeah, I suppose that's what makes it so unique, though. You've just got to be, it's as much mental as it is physical.
Yeah, of course. And that happens to all athletes, no matter what your sport, I suppose. So now we're thankfully in the process of getting out of this lockdown. What steps have you had to put in place to keep your fitness technique, or your fitness and your technique up where it needs to be during ISO?
Yeah, good one. So we were at home for, I think it was about 8 weeks. So all of our coaches, strength and swimming coaches, gave us particularly shoulder work, because we do so many reps in the pool that we sort of forget sometimes. And because there was only the beach and the lakes and all that available to us, we couldn't swim probably quite as much as normal. So a lot of shoulder work with a band, a lot of core, all of our gym stuff we tried to replicate just with random things that we'd find around the house. And obviously the running and the riding and try and swim in the lake or beach as much as you can. But we're back into it now. We've got to stick to all of the measures, like getting the temperature checks every day. And our coaches are easing us into it. I think our bodies, or our heart and lungs, could handle all the hard work, but the shoulders can't always, because they've had that little bit of time off. So yeah, just managing it.
I saw a picture of you with your protein bottles that are like, you know, a few kilos, it looks like, each, and you're doing crunches or sit-ups with those.
Yeah, I've got my sponsor's True Protein. That's one of my sponsors. So they've got these pretty cool 2-litre water bottles. So they're good for a lot of exercises. And I also went to, forget it was Woolies or Coles, and they sell $4 or $5 massive 10-litre, 12-litre water bottles. So that's 10 or 12 kilos right there. So I didn't need to go to the beach and fill them up with sand, but I was tempted. That would have made it a bit heavier. So you just had to make do with what you had, really.
And speaking of making do, like, what have been the biggest hurdles that you've faced while you've been stuck at home?
I think trying to keep the shoulder load up that we would usually do in the pool. We do so many reps. We swim somewhere between 30 and 60 Ks most weeks, and it is a lot of rotations through your shoulders that you sort of don't realise that you're doing. You're putting pressure on them every day. So we had to do a lot of shoulder band work. We had to do a lot of reps, and that's quite hard, counting out the reps. So I think counting up to 50 or 100 reps of something is, you sort of lose count of where you're at. And also swimming in the ocean and the beach, that was hard too, because also with my vision, but also I haven't really grown up with a strong beach swimming background like a lot of some swimmers have. So following a black line is quite easy, but swimming in the beach isn't at times, and you don't know what's in the ocean too. That's what I've always said to my mates here. You don't know what's in there, and they call me soft, but yeah, it's not as safe as a pool, I don't think.
Far from it. I mean, I'm over here in WA, and I see some of the ocean swimmers, because, you know, we have the big Rottnest swim every year, and there's a lot. Ocean swimming's a big deal over here. And I look at how far out some of them are, and I'll just shake my head. I'm just like, not on your Nelly, mate. You know, like when I'm swimming at the beach, it's like if I'm doing freestyle, I often scrape the ground like with my fingertips. I'm like that far into shore. You know, like they've got some big fish over here with even bigger teeth.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are somewhere around here too. I think.
I bet there are.
Well, where there's an ocean, I think there's going to be stuff that is can hurt a human being. So, yeah, it was tough. But one thing, a girl that I swim with, we were out having a swim in Mooloolaba one day, and there was this man who wasn't a strong swimmer, and his dog got away from him. So one day, a girl that I train with, her name's Phoebe, we both saved this dog that was getting away from an owner, and the dog was actually swimming directly out to sea. And the owner couldn't keep up. So I suppose if it wasn't for us, maybe, there might have been a lost dog in isolation. So that was one good thing I did. So
wow, that's a great story.
It was cool.
Dog savers.
Never saved anyone before, and the first one's a dog, so it's pretty cool.
it can only go up from there.
Yeah. The dog was a good swimmer though. He was pretty strong in the dog paddle. So
yeah. Did you switch techniques just to sort of be at one with him?
Yeah, well, it was a big dog. I forget what breed it was, but it was. Right. We had to keep pushing it sort of so that it would change direction and just get on the outside of it so it wouldn't keep swimming out to sea. But it took a bit of beating. But the dog was laughing and smiling the whole time and like panting. It was pretty cute, I suppose, really. But it was a hard job.
That's gold. That's great. Hey, so how has technology played an impact in your life since the whole ISO thing? Have you been using Zoom a lot, like with your coach, or that wasn't really a thing?
Yeah, we did weekly Zoom meetings, which is great. Our coaches organised that just so everyone had. Part of it was probably so everyone had that little bit of community feel each week and someone to talk to. And obviously there was a lot of the touching base on where we're at, when we can get back into the pool, keeping on top of the restrictions and being safe and everything. But yeah, I'd never used Zoom, never used House Party before. I did that with my family a couple of times, and even following a couple of workout videos if I felt the need or if I wanted to do something a bit different. So yeah, technology was great.
Yeah, a big help.
Technology is great.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. And as far as working from home, was there any surprises? Any kind of like, you know, didn't think that was going to happen, or?
No, not really. Didn't really have anything that went wrong. But no, not really. I probably went a bit too hard with my running at the start. I actually go quite well at running, but I went way too hard too early. And I think in terms of the amount of time that I was running, it wasn't as much as the time that I would be swimming. But just the impact through the legs. When you're in the water, you don't have much impact on your body. But with running, there's a lot of that ground impact on your lower legs. So I wouldn't say I got injured, but I had to lay off that. So yeah, that's a learning curve. Don't rush into running.
You'll remember that next time there's a big virus.
I know. Yeah, I was cycling, stationary cycling.
Exactly. Now, have you been able to find any positives from what's been taking place with all this going on?
Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself actually. You've probably noticed I've been trying to boost my personal brand. Just trying to connect with other people, make a positive impact on other people's lives, and I suppose as anything goes, there's going to be people that aren't, interested in watching what you put out there, but there's a lot of people that are. There's a lot of people that you don't realise that can take something from what you know, and everyone has something to deliver. So I suppose as a swimmer that has been on the national team, I've forgotten sometimes that a friend actually last week asked me to post a video of how to do a tumble turn. So I'm going to do that soon. And for me as a elite swimmer, you forget that some people can't do that. So you can teach people a lot with what you've got, and anyone can do that. So I've been working on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the power you've got in the audience that you have and that you'll continue to have as it grows, so you can do a lot of good with that, I suppose. And a lot of personal branding is all about that, or a lot of it is. Yeah.
And I'm also doing a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness too. I've my strength trainer, Mark, he's been very helpful in allowing a few of us to take part in a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness. So I did sports science at uni and graduated a couple of years ago, and I've sort of developed a little bit more, and I'm trying to do that fitness stuff. So using that with the personal brand I'm finding that good too, because I want to try and reach a few people and see if I can help them, and if they can get something out. If one person can get something out of it, then that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was going to speak to you about that qualification that you've got. You got the degree, but I've also heard that you're perhaps not planning on stopping there, and that you've got your eyes on physiotherapy and maybe even medicine.
Yeah, I've always said that. I do like the idea of physio, and I haven't ruled out the idea of medicine one day. I love chemistry and I love learning. So I feel like being a doctor is the ultimate. Sort of takes a lot of smarts and it takes a lot of time. So maybe one day, but for now, I'm really enjoying the personal training and learning how to deliver that to people, and just the positive impact it can have on your life. Just being healthy, fit. And yeah, for now, I'm just learning all the ins and outs of, sets, reps, how to coach someone, how to run a business. So I'm trying to use all of those things rather than just learning it. I'm trying to implement it as well.
Yeah, it's often the best way to learn it. So if you're doing both, that's great, But Dr. Jake does have a good ring to it. So we'll see how we go down the track. Maybe one day. I mean, we're almost at the end here, Jake. So I just wanted to ask about your public speaking, because you do a lot of that, and you cite being able to motivate the next generation as something you'd like to do more of. If you could give some advice to the junior swimmers that are just getting started out there, what would that advice be?
I think it would be take one step at a time. One thing that I've learned recently is if someone that's very advanced at something is trying to teach someone that's a beginner, you need to put it all in perspective. Everyone starts as a beginner, and taking those small steps is really important. Just like setting goals, you're not going to reach your long-term goals straight away. So you can tick your little boxes along the way, and you will get there. It's when I do my motivational or public speaking it's usually to primary school kids, and they're so fascinated. And when you tell them this, they really believe it. They believe they can achieve something. But I think as you get older, like I imagine trying to teach someone that's a bit older to swim and say that they can get to this level, they'd think, no, I'm past that point. But anyone can swim, and anyone can do a great job with it. But I think we need to sometimes take that enthusiasm and excitement and belief that kids have, because they're the best at doing that. So
yeah, I just had my 3-year-old in the skate park on the weekend, and it's great that they don't know about injuries at this stage. Plenty of enthusiasm.
Well, that's true. And yeah, I probably should take a leaf out of my own book, because if someone said skating to me, I'd say, no, can't do that. Because I can't even stand on a skateboard. But I'm sure if I learned, I'm sure I could do a good job with it. It's just about putting the time in. If you really want to do something, if it's something you feel like you'd enjoy or you want to excel at, it's just about putting the time in, enjoying it, being smart, and just, like I said, just enjoy it, have fun with it.
Wise words. That's fantastic, Jake. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today on the 10 Before 10 show. It's been great.
No dramas at all. Thanks for having me. It's been such a fun experience, the whole thing. So look forward to it next time, hopefully.
Absolutely. Sounds great. All right. You take care.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.